Hey family, good evening. I am tuning in with you from the Dominican Republic this evening. And the journey to getting here just had me thinking and contemplating about true faith, boundaries, and gratitude. So, a year ago, I guess April, my oldest uncle passed away, and he left behind a wife and a daughter in the Dominican Republic. But only my mom and my grandmother had met them, had been able to travel to meet them. So obviously, with everything going on in the world, traveling here and all of that was a challenge. And so now, as a gift, this was an opportunity presented for my family to come and meet and visit with my aunt and my little cousin. And so beyond it being just an amazing opportunity, there were other logistical challenges that I really just had to surrender, like with my children's passports. I mean, literally in my life, the Most High has always come through at the 11th hour. But as a mom, I'm always trying to plan and get the logistics just so that I can count on things being a certain way, right? And it just doesn't always work. And so despite my logistics and intentionality, there were just some 11th hour miracles that the Most High had to pull off. And where I needed to be to surrender to that reality was just this place of faith and action, right? And so kind of being hey, we don't even know if this is gonna work. I mean, I have my passport, but my children's passports hadn't come by the day, 2 days before the trip, and all this stuff. And so something that I had to do was to move in faith regarding getting tested, making sure everybody got tested so that we had our 72-hour stuff. Because at first I'm well, I don't want to get tested, I don't want to do all this if we're not going to be able to go. And then it was a correction in my spirit, no, you need to have faith, but you also need to take action as if it is so. And there's so many times when we look at life and we look at our circumstances and it looks crazy and it looks impossible. And we may, in the moment of observing the impossibility, just stop moving forward and stop being in position because we think, oh, it's not going to happen because of this or that. And so obviously this lesson is evolving in my life and it's continual, but really understanding the level of surrender and how much there's so many things in this world that I just simply don't have any control over. And there are other things that I absolutely do have control over. And most of the things that I have control over fall into the category of action. And most of the things that I don't have any absolute control over fall under the category of faith. And so, even creativity, so we wound up having a split trip, and it was, oh, are we going to leave one person behind? Are we not? But this is supposed to be a family thing. I mean, I think I don't think my brain is ready to actually tell that whole story, because I just had a headache for the last 2 days dealing with all the last minuteness of everything. But there was a lesson in it, and there was an encouragement in it, and there was a calling higher in it, right? And so being able to say, you know what, I feel like this is something that we are absolutely supposed to be a part of. I would love to meet my uncle's daughter and his wife. And, obviously after the last year and a half we've had with several deaths in the family, as well as just all the shifts and craziness in the world, stress of building business and parenting virtually and homeschooling, I'm not going to say I also wasn't like looking forward to the idea of just like being on a beach somewhere and not thinking about much. But it didn't come as like this, like, easy breezy, okay, let's just book it, let's do this, let's do that. No, it came with this like super deep spiritual lesson. And I love that about my life. And that's also a challenge of my life. Like, there's not anything that I do, there's nothing that I live that somehow doesn't have this like overarching, message from the Most High for me to learn, and an opportunity for me to spiritually expand. And so I just wanted to, especially when it comes to us mothers, and we are handling the logistics of our family, and there's things that, are causing our blood pressure to go up, or, we are worrying about, and our bodies are suffering, our hearts and our minds are suffering due to the stress that we're putting ourselves under because of these things we're worrying about. And I would like to posture that there are things that we just simply have to have faith about. And there are things that we do have to take action about and put ourselves in position. But having the level of discernment to understand and know which is which can literally save your life. Like, I could have literally had an anxiety panic attack and just been sick these last few days. Now I am a bit sleep deprived. However, kind of surrendering to what could be allowed for creativity to come into play. So for this particular situation, it looked like me flying separate, like half the family flying on the original day, and then it looked like me and my son waiting for his passport to come the following day and flying out separately. So it involved more driving, instead of all driving together. It involves some sacrifice and some compromise and creativity. But that was the action that the blessing required on my behalf. And if I had been in a space of like doom and gloom and, oh, it's not going to work, instead of being able to just surrender, like, okay, if this is the plan and this is what's supposed to happen, then what can I do to match my faith in this scenario? And so if you have scenarios where you are just worried about, choices, maybe you have older children and they're making some crazy choices, and you are like really concerned and you're trying to exert control over those situations, it may be something that falls into the category of faith. And it might require your action to be consistent and solid and showing up for your family and children in the way that you can without asserting yourself or trying to be controlling over the choices they make. It may look like, strategizing and being creative about how you could get to the expected end if it's not just a straight path. And so I just want to encourage you guys to keep the faith, but also release what does not belong to you. There's several aspects of this trip that just did not belong to me, and I didn't have answers, and it was very uncomfortable, especially as it pertains to traveling with children and international travel. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like it was like, oh, okay. But then that faith piece where I'm like, fam, the fact that all of these planets are orbiting on time and doing what they have to do, and the stars are strategically placed, and my heart is beating without me telling it to beat, and my blood is flowing, and this breeze right now is blowing. These are the glimpses into the divine. These are the glimpses into the magnificent, detailed nature of the Most High. And sometimes in parenting, we put ourselves in that space, and we get it mixed up. We get the game messed up because we try to then think, oh, I've got to make this flow, and I've got to do this and do that. And there are things that we need to do, and then there's things that we just need to have faith and surrender to. And so if this message was for you, be gentle with yourself, have grace, but pair your faith with action and vice versa. Make sure that your action is paired with faith, and that you're not relying solely on yourself to do all the things for everybody, when a huge chunk of that may actually need to be your faith and understanding that things will work out for your highest and best, and that all things will be worked together for your good. Even if it does look a little janky and a little creative and not what you expected, it will still work together for your good.